Thank you, Ashley. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, so first of all, thank you, Ashley. Dennis, I do want to tell you that my welcoming committee was Joe. So he was my welcoming committee. We may want to revise that for the next speaker that comes. So if there are any mistakes that are made today, I blame Joe. So first of all, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. I don't take it lightly. So my job today is to challenge some of the things that you have that are limiting you guys, or should I say our productivity, and to help all of us take our businesses and our lives to the next level. So the first thing that I want to do, so we do have some slides that will be on the screen, but most of it is going to be you looking at me and listening to me because I was contemplating whether or not I was going to use visual aids, because when I looked in the mirror this morning, I said, I am the only visual aid that I need. Now, some of you guys may disagree, and if you do, that's okay, because right now your opinion does not matter. I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to thank or acknowledge all of our veterans. So do we have any military veterans in the room? I'm not going to ask you to stand. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, please. Okay, everyone other than the people raising their hands, I would like for you guys to stand, because it is my belief that these individuals deserve a standing ovation. All right, you guys may be seated now. And the reason I start off like that is because of your bravery, your courage, that people like me, who sometimes seem undeserving and unappreciative, that you guys, the sacrifices you made, allow us to do things that we love doing in, I believe, the greatest country in the world. Now, the next group of people that we want to acknowledge are the family members of any servicemen, because as a Navy kid, I've learned that when one person serves, the entire family serves. So do we have any family members of servicemen or veterans in the room today? All right. Now, once again, I want you all to stand. I want you all to stand. If you do have a family member or yes, a veteran or a service member in your family. All right, let's give them a round of applause. And in case, I guess I'll pick a time. In case you guys are curious why I asked you guys to stand. Oh, you guys aren't seeing everything that I'm seeing here. Okay. In case you haven't figured out, technology has a mind of its own. It does what it wants when it wants, right? All right, so in case you guys are curious why I asked the second group to stand and the first group to stand, is because I don't give everything equal weight. All right, and that's something I'm going to ask you guys to do in your lives, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Everything in your life does not deserve equal weight. Would you guys agree? Yes. I forgot to mention, this is an interactive session. All right, so I am a facilitator. I'm not a speaker. So I don't know if we're going to have any evaluations, but in case you do, I want you to know this. Since this is interactive, it's only going to be as good as you guys make it, right? So if you walk away and say, that was a horrible presentation, you're speaking about yourself, not about me so much. As you guys can tell probably from my dress, I have self-esteem issues. And it is a curse that I call having too much self-esteem. I do not have low self-esteem. I do have high self-esteem. Has anyone here ever heard me present or speak before? Anyone here ever heard me? Okay, so until now, I thought I was famous. Apparently, I have a lot of work to do. Now, the good news about that is all of the old jokes, I can use them today, and you guys hopefully will laugh. I've already used about 90% of them already. But the other reason I asked that is because I want to know, or I want to tell you guys who I am and why I didn't let Ashley do it, because I'm Neil Oates. That's it. Because who I am is unimportant to you guys. What I'm going to help you do and what I'm going to help you guys transform your life, that's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And if I fall short of that, then I've failed my job. Now, I will tell you that I believe, and I know at least one other person believes, that I am one of the most productive and successful people in the world. And I'll tell you who that is and why I say that and why I'm confident here to stand in front of you today. 2 days ago, no lie. And when someone says no lie, usually it's a lie, but this time it's not a lie, I promise. 2 days ago, my son came up to me, who is 10 years old. He's Nilos III. He is also the vice president of my company on paper and in real life. I know that we talked about legacy. What you do for yourself is gone when you are, but what you do for others will last after you're gone. So that's just a little bit about my son. But he said, Daddy, I want to be like you when I grow up. First of all, if you have kids, you're like, okay, what does he want, right? He wants something. Here we go. He's buttering me up. But then after that, I said, son, what do you mean you want to be like me? He says, yeah. He says, you run a business, you volunteer at church, you volunteer at school, and you make time for me. So that's how I know that I am one of the most productive and most successful people in the world, because when your 10-year-old son comes to you and says, you're one of the most productive, most successful, I want to be like you when I grow up, that says enough. Another reason why I ask who has heard me speak is because this is the time that I give a disclaimer. Everyone knows this, right? Everyone knows what these are? All right. I have an issue with language, so if foul language offends you, this is the disclaimer. Ashley right now is like, oh my God. I said I knew him. I know Ruth was like, okay, and I shouted for Neil. But Joe is like, oh yeah, it's going to get interesting. So I am going to say some words that you as realtors are probably going to be offended by. I'm a big boy. You guys can leave if you want. We're going to use 4-letter words such as discipline, accountability, responsibility, and the big 4-letter word, no. All right, so I've made that disclaimer. Is everyone okay with that? All right, so I'm going to challenge you guys to do something, because productivity, all this is a concept or a willingness to attract and focus our attention. So I'm going to ask everyone to do something right now. It's probably going to be the most difficult thing you're going to do today. I'm going to ask you to turn off your phone, not on silent, not on vibrate. I'm going to ask you guys to turn off your phone. And the reason I say that, I know what you guys are going to say, but what if there's an emergency? Let me ask you this. If you're the person that people call for an emergency, that means you have not set up systems in your life for you to have the life that you need. That's hard to hear. Who would agree that's hard to hear? I have a 10-year-old son. I have a wife. So for me, right now, my phone is off for every reason except to record the presentation. Okay? And what I also want to challenge you with is that if you think that you're the person that is needed for emergencies, then your phone number needs to be 911. Are you guys okay with me telling you that? All right. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Neil, why am I listening to you? I sit on 4 state committees, 5 local boards down in Miami, where we have a couple of members. I am a high-level volunteer at my church. Like I said, I am a husband, and I am a dad. I'm a softball coach for kids, and I am the accelerated reading coach at my son's school. But I am not busy. I am not busy, and I say that honestly. I am not busy. I am productive, and that's the only reason you guys are here. That's why I'm here right now. I don't want you guys to be busy another day in your life. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but busyness equals weakness. Ouch. So that's one of the 4-letter words. Busyness equals weakness. Time management. Who here has ever had the idea or wanted to manage time? Who's ever wanted to manage time? Don't forget, this is interactive. Raise them high, raise them high. All right, if you've ever wanted to manage time. Who here has failed at managing time? And see, even the people who haven't tried to manage time, they failed at managing time. Why? Because there is no such thing as time management. There is self-management and emotional management. There is no such thing as time management. Everyone has the same number of hours in a day. How many is it? How many? 45 hours in a day? Yes, everyone has the same number of hours in a day to get what they want done. How many hours is that? It's not a trick question. Some people are like, I said 20. Wait, okay. Is it daylight savings time? Are we in Arizona where they don't have it? No, 24 hours, right? I don't care who you are. You're not going to be able to manage time more effectively, more efficiently to create more time. Would you guys agree? So, but what we can manage is our emotion. Have you guys heard that we make decisions emotionally and then we justify them rationally? right? You guys understand that. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to manage time, something that we cannot do, but we're letting ourselves off the hook because we're weak emotionally. Everyone say ouch. Ouch. No, everyone say ouch like it really hurt. Ouch. It's tough to hear. It's tough to be told that you are emotionally weak, especially as adults. Would you guys agree? So we say all of the time that we tell our kids all the time, no, don't do this, don't do that, grow up, and then we grow up and what? Then we revert back to the same actions that we were doing, much like my friend here. We are what we call emotional midgets. I don't know, midget is not a politically correct word, I apologize, but in Alabama, emotionally we are weak, right? So I don't want you to think about yourselves, but do we know anyone? Do you know anyone who is emotionally weak? If they're sitting next to you, don't look at them, don't nudge, right? Especially if you're married to them or work with them. But I want you to think about the people who are emotionally weak. That's what we're talking about right here. So emotionally immature. So that's why we need systems in place. And today we're just going to go over a few systems. And I forgot to ask you guys, or forgot to tell you, if you guys have any questions, raise your hands, right? You know, as it comes up, we'll address it because it is interactive. And also because the last time I was in a courtroom setting like this, I was sitting here on the other side and I had some questions that I wanted answered, but I wasn't allowed to. So I don't want you guys feeling like I was then. So if you guys have any questions, just raise your hands. We'll address them as we go along. So what is the greatest deterrent to your productivity and your success? Well, before we do that, who here wants to get more out of life? Okay, so the front three rows here, I want everyone to look at the front three rows right here. Do not stand, do not affiliate with them. They did not raise their hands. These are the people, because that's the cool kids row. That's the cool kids row. The three right there, that's cool. They're so cool that they do not want to get anything more out of life. I'm just kidding. So they did raise their hands, but who here really wants to get more out of life? Who here wants to get, she raised two hands. She's like, okay, here I go, see me. Who wants to get more out of life by doing less? Yes. Now, who has been told you can't get something for nothing, right? So all of these are things where we're told you can't get more by doing less. I'm here to challenge your thinking. Yes, you can if you're doing more of the right things and less of the bad things, all right? Everyone okay with that belief? All right, so systems. What type of systems do we need in our lives? What type of system do I use or do I have that I've learned that allows me to get more done in less amount of time? The first one is scheduling. We hear it all the time. So you already know everything you need to know to be more productive. You already know everything you need to know to be more productive. The issue is what? What's the issue? Implementation. So everyone asks me, Neil, what is your title? What do you do? I tell everyone I'm an executioner. I'm an executioner. Now, does executioner in our day and age have a positive or negative reference? Well, what is it? Negative. What do you guys think of when you hear executioner? Tell me. Kill him, hangman, head off. What does execute mean?
Carry out.
One more time, sir?
Carry out.
To carry out to completion. That's not what we think of, because the way our minds are triggered, and these are types of the things I want to challenge you guys with. So I am a student of productivity and a student of success. So what we're going to go over today, I started learning when I was 19. So I know a few of you have not reached 19 years old yet. You guys are probably guests and aren't even realtors, right? Because in 97, you were probably, 13, 14? Okay, there we go. Close enough. You know, my vision is bad. So forgive me. So one of the things that our minds are trained, that everything that could be positive, we are pulled to the negative. So when I say execute, you guys think, oh my gosh, she's going to kill someone. When I say execute, that means that I'm going to take it to completion with excellence. So when I'm an executioner, your title from now on, you should have a name badge that says executioner. Two things are going to happen. People first are going to get the hell out of your way. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I knew it. I saw the look on his face. But the other thing inside, when you become an executioner, executioners do not have excuses. It's get it done, or you either get it done or not. right? So that's going to be one of the first systems. Now, this sign here, usually when I have this sign up saying that warning, this sign is only a distraction, I usually do something crazy like take my shirt off, but I'm wearing a coat today, so I can't do that. But distractions are your greatest threat to your productivity. Who has been distracted today? Who's already been distracted today? Who doesn't know that they're distracted because they're distracted all of the time? Okay, and if you want to point at someone else for them because they're so distracted that they didn't raise their hand, now's the time when you can go like this. And I knew Joe was going to be the only one that do it, right? So distractions are our greatest threat of productivity. For instance, the acceleration of addictiveness in our day and age, never before this is the greatest time that there has ever been to be alive. This is the greatest time there ever has been to be alive. If you don't like that, then you can choose not to be here. That's your choice. Hopefully you will. But this is the greatest time to be alive in the history of the world. But it's also the most difficult time to be alive on our minds and our attention spans. You guys understand why? Everyone has the world in their pocket or in their purse or in their hands or on their desk with phones. So I'm just going to read a couple of stats to you guys. Office workers check their email 40 times an hour. 40 times an hour. So who here grew up where they had neighbors? Who grew up where they had neighbors and maybe had the mailbox outside? Do you guys have that? Because I'm from Alabama, that's what we have. I had this crazy old neighbor, right? I would see her from 9 o'clock in the morning during the summer until about 4 o'clock in the evening, at least 15 times a day. She would get out, come out, open the mailbox, close it, and walk back in the house. No less than 15 times a day. From about 9 o'clock in the morning, the mail didn't run until 3, right? But guess what? We're laughing. Guess what you guys are? You guys are that crazy old lady now that checks your mail 40 times an hour. So do you guys see the issues that we're having? Right now, you are not checking your phones are checking you. Who has their alerts on their phones for their email, text message, WhatsApp? Who has those apps where the notifications pop up on they make the sound, make the vibrate? I'm telling you right now, that is going to be your biggest deterrent to your success, your productivity. For one of these systems, and this is not for you guys to implement, it's just for you to open your eyes. Right now, with everything I do, I don't check my emails until 10 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because what is an email or a text message or a WhatsApp message? What is that? Not only is it a distraction, it is an allowed distraction. You are setting yourself up and you're telling people what you want is more important. Who here has ever received, or the majority of your emails, when they come in, what are they? They are requests on your time to do something for someone else that they want, that they're not willing to wait for. You guys understand that? Most emails are requests on your time from someone else to do what they want that they're not willing to wait for. And you guys are enablers. So raise your hand, say, I am an enabler. Because people do what you allow and tolerate. My team of agents, whoever they are, my mom knows not to send me an email or not to expect a response before 11 o'clock. You say it's sad, but you're like, but guess what? My mom also knows that every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, she's getting a phone call from me. She knows that every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, she's getting a phone call from me. Why? Because I've put these systems in place and I put these processes in place. Now there is an expectancy there, so it's okay. So now I'm not the mean guy. I'm not mom can't call you. But guess what I also know? I know that if my mom calls me outside of those windows, guess what I know then? Then I know it's a 911 issue, right? Because she understands and she knows the value of my time, and she knows that I am diligent and that she wants to see me succeed. Who here wants the best for their kids or their loved ones? Who here wants the best for themselves? So why are we allowing other people who have no care about your success or your livelihood, why are we allowing them to destroy the futures that we want? And that's what I want you to see. What's the most valuable asset that we all have? Does everyone believe that? Does everyone really believe that? My dad, before he passed away 10 years ago, he says, one of the last things that he told me, he says, son, if someone tells you who they are or shows you who they are, believe what they show you. Now, I'm going to ask you again, do you guys believe that your time is your most valuable asset? Because if you did, if you meant it and if you believed it, I would be able to look at your life. I would be able to look at your schedule, your planner, and I would say this is someone who believes that their time is their most valuable asset. We are less likely to spend our moolah, our money, than we are to waste our time. Everyone okay with believing that or accepting that? Our problem in this world is not with overabundance. So everyone says, well, the reason I'm overweight is because there's just so much food. No, the food doesn't just jump in our mouths. Would you guys agree? It's not overabundance. Our bank accounts, our lives aren't where they are on the slack side because of overabundance. Everything that's available to you is available to me, is available to the majority of people. The issue is overconsumption. And why do we overconsume? Is because our friend, we're emotionally immature. We don't like to hear that 4-letter word called what? No. We do not like to hear no. Do you guys know anyone who is suffering from this issue right here? So there is a term called digiphrenia. Digiphrenia. That is the fear of not having your cell phone with you. Digiphrenia. And it is not something that our ancestors dealt with. This is a new phobia that we have. Well, I don't know. Joe, do you have a cell phone? Yes. Okay. Does it flip? It's on its own. Okay. Oh, okay. So these are things before Joe, if you guys don't believe it, there was a time before Joe, all right? Digiphrenia was not an issue. Right? But now we are, yes, so I'm seeing you guys remember the rotary phones, right? So it's kind of hard to have a rotary phone, take it with you everywhere you go. But digiphrenia right now is the leading cause of distraction for each and every one of you in here. And the tough thing is, I would like everyone, now this is a come to Jesus moment. I would like everyone to say your name. Mary. Say your name. And say, I am an addict. Okay, that's the first step, all right? So what we're going to go over real quick is a couple of things that people are willing to give up before they give up their cell phones, all right? Are you guys ready? Now, if this hits you, or if you're in this group, I don't want you guys to laugh. We're serious, because this is a real issue, because we're all addicts. All right, we're going to start with the hard one first. 33% of people would give up sex before their cell phones. That is an awesome cell phone that you have. I don't know what kind of apps that you have, but that's an awesome cell phone. 50% of people will give up caffeine before their cell phones. 70% of people are willing to give up alcohol before their phones. And for my ladies and my gentlemen, so that was 33 are willing to give up sex, 50% are willing to give up caffeine. We have 70% will give up alcohol, and 43% of people would rather walk around barefoot than have their cell phone, than not have their cell phone. 43% of people would rather walk around barefoot than not have their cell phone. So here we go. The most important human discipline involved in long-term success. Everyone say long-term. Say long-term. So that is a foreign concept for us. We want immediate gratification. The same things that we yell at our kids for, that in Alabama, they used to beat their kids for. I know you guys don't do that here. But for whining and complaining and throwing fits, right? The same thing that we would get onto them for, maybe that you've got onto your kids for earlier today or earlier this week, are the same issues that we're having. So the most important human discipline involved in long-term success is the ability to forego immediate gratification for a larger but delayed reward. Everyone agree with that? If they don't agree, they are probably the one who throws a fit at every one of you guys meeting and they say, I want it now, 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 right? So how do we get from where we are to where we want to be? We don't. So everyone says, have you guys heard that you need more willpower? More willpower. You need to have willpower. And I said discipline, right? I want us to throw willpower and discipline out of the window. And this is coming from a guy who has a discipline tattoo on his arm. I'm going to ask you guys to throw discipline or set your lives up so you throw discipline out of the window. So how do we do that? We don't have willpower. We avoid. So it's avoidance versus choice. Because we are emotionally weak, so when we have to make choices, what do we usually choose, the good or the bad? If you said good, you are a liar, right? Our tendencies are to go to the bad. So we want to have, we want to avoid over resist, avoid over resist. Your attention directs your life. Has anyone heard where your energy goes or where your attention goes, your energy flows? Do we have any NASCAR fans in here? Any NASCAR fans? What is the number one rule if you want to be an outstanding NASCAR driver? What's the one rule in order to be a great NASCAR driver?
Don't take your foot off the gas.
Don't look at the wall. Do you guys know why? Where your attention goes, you go. Everyone says if you want to kill a snake, what do? You take the head, right? Where the head goes, the body follows. If you want to be an outstanding NASCAR driver, you don't look at the wall. So in life, if you want to be fantastic, you don't look at the wall. But what are we looking at all day, every day? The freaking wall. What is the wall? The wall is the media, the news. Sometimes it's our kids, it's our partners, it's our spouse. It's the things that everyone else wants. It's not what we want for ourselves. I'm here to tell you right now, if you have not heard it today, you need to be the most important person in your life. That's probably hard for a lot of you to hear. Because we want to give, we want to help, we want to share, we want to bring the people up around us. But you have to be, it is vital that you are the most important person in your life. I'm the most important person in my life. If I go down, my wife, my business, my son, my kids at church, my kids at school, they are done. Do you guys understand? It's not an ego thing, but I want to challenge you. Believe that you are the most important person in your life. Everyone okay with that? All right, so avoidance versus resistance. Does anyone ever feel like this young lady here? Right? Now, this is going to be the tough part of the presentation. All right, I've done this presentation probably about 70 times, and this is always the toughest part. And this is where I become Uncle Neil. Everyone has that, well, I hope you guys either do or don't, but you guys probably have that uncle in your family that you never quite know what he's going to say, but he kind of gets a pass, right? Because you're like, okay, yeah, it hurt, but he's kind of funny, right? So it's a little bit of love in there, a little bit of truth, and then we just discard whatever else he says. So you guys can discard whatever you want from here, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Busy feels great, right? Because when we're busy, we feel like we're Wonder Woman or Superman or any other superhero that you guys want to be. Because we're running around putting out fires. So when we're busy, dopamine is released in our system. Adrenaline is released. The love drug is released. Because when you're busy, if I can solve my client's problems, if I can take care of my son or my wife or my friend, if I can solve their problem, they're going to love me. You guys want the truth? If you solve their problem, they're going to say, that was easy. I'll go back to them again. They'll use you. Don't mistake use for love. All right. When you really love someone, you'll help them use my favorite term. And this is one of the takeaways I want you to have. My favorite term is when someone comes to me, Neil, I need da-da-da-da. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm sure you'll figure it out. And if you really want to make them feel good, you're smart enough. I'm sure you'll figure it out. All right. Is everyone okay with that? Because my dad also told me So my dad was a plumber and an electrician. That's why I said I've had worse things thrown at me than spitballs and pies, because when I was 5 years old, I was working with my dad as a plumber, taking care of sewage issues with septic tanks, actually, back in Alabama. So busyness feels great, but my dad said, don't make your emergencies mine. Because it's an emergency for you, I'm sure you'll figure it out. And a lot of times what we'll find is that they will actually figure it out, or they'll get smarter and we'll find out that it's not all that important. So after this right here, busyness feels great, but let me tell you what busyness is. Busyness equals laziness. That means that when we're busy, that means that more times than not, we have chosen to do urgent and important, but not vital. Do you guys understand the difference between urgent and important and vital? As a real estate agent, give me something that's urgent. Give me something that's just urgent.
Closing is postponed.
The closing is postponed. Anything else?
Getting paperwork signed.
Paperwork signed. What else is urgent or important? Inspection is important. Now tell me, what, as a real estate agent and as a business owner, what's vital? Getting paid. Appointments. What's vital? Closing. Can I tell you guys, more likely than not, there are 3 vital stats or 3 vital activities for you, and I don't care who you are, what level of the business you're in. There are 3 vital priorities that you should have, and anything else is urgent and important, but it's not vital to your success. So this is and I know that I'm in a room with, I'm surrounded by greatness. That's because I'm sure that you guys have been in the industry for a long time. I've done great. This is the only thing that I've done for 13 years. The first 8 I was doing important and urgent, but not vital. And then the remainder of the years, my career took off because I started focusing on 3 vital activities. You guys understand vital versus urgent and important. So I broke my leg, had a compound fracture, and I'm going to tell you guys what the 3 vital things are. You guys are like, oh, he took me to the edge and left me. I'm going to push you in a moment. Don't worry. So I broke my leg, compound fracture. So a compound fracture in the bone is outside of your skin and it's just pumping blood, right? Pretty urgent and important, right? But that wasn't vital. What's the first thing they did to me when I got to the emergency room? Do you guys think they wrapped up my leg and stopped my bleeding? What's the first thing they did?
Where's your insurance card?
Nope.
No insurance.
Ruth, one more time, Ruth. They took my vitals. Why? Because if they stopped the bleeding, and they took their focus off of what my vitals were, then they could stop the bleeding, but that would be a symptom. What if there was internal bleeding somewhere else? What if my blood pressure was dropping so far? What if all these other issues? So take the vitals. Who here knows what the vitals are of their business and of their life? I want you guys not to only think as realtors, but also just as human beings. Who knows what the vital priorities or vital functions of your life are? And I'm just going to tell you guys something on the real estate side. 3 vital priorities. The first one is prospecting. You can't close what you ain't got. Without leads, your business dies. And that's one of the unsexy. Prospecting is one of the unsexy terms. Who here has been in the industry for more than 15 years? Was prospecting important 15 years ago? Is prospecting important now? Even more so now. The second vital is negotiating contracts. And then I'm going to go out on the limb and I'm going to say the third vital, and this is what my coaches and my mentors tell me, is pitching listings. Getting listings, negotiating contracts, and prospecting. Now, why do I say listing? If you're a buyer specialist in here, the reason I say listing is because for the life, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Listing Leads and Leverage or the Keller Williams Red Book. I believe it's a fantastic resource regardless of whichever company you're with. But I mean, the reason I say that is because we know that for every properly listed home, it generates 1 buyer lead if you do it right. Okay, so that's why, if you do it right, that's why I believe that pitching listings, negotiating contracts, and then prospecting are your 3 vital functions in the real estate world. Why then do we get stuck in worrying about closing issues, or why do we get stuck worrying about inspections, or why? Because it's urgent and important, and if we can solve that problem, we believe that we're doing a great job for our clients, right? Now, I'm going to tell you what's good for your client might be bad for you. Are you guys okay with that? Because guess what I've done? I'm here right now. We have closings happening, everything, but I've set up a system, and that's why we talked about setting up systems, putting them in place, so that when you're not here or when you're not there, it's still happening without you, right? For as a broker, my vital function is not listing properties, it's not negotiating contracts, but it is prospecting, but it's for the agent side. So how many brokers do we have in the room? Okay, so think about what your vital functions are. Is your vital function going to be training? I'm going to say not necessarily. It might just be creating a system to have training done. It's probably going to be pitching agreements, getting those ICAs done, all right? You got the brokers, okay? You guys understand where I'm coming from there? Do you guys know my friend? You guys know my friend? Yeah. What's her name? Elsa. What's her name? Elsa, and she is from where? Frozen in Disney. What is Elsa famous for? I'm sorry? Now see, they laugh because just like execution, they think differently. When we say let it go, they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to let it go. So Elsa is famous for letting it go. Let it go. And I'm going to tell you right now, in order for you to be as productive as you want to be and unlock the lifestyle that you want to have, you have to learn to let it go. You're never, ever, ever going to get it all done. Don't let anyone tell you, don't let anyone make you believe that you have to get it all done. Because they don't care if you get it all done. They only care if you get the part that's important to them done, right? But what do you need to care about? You need to care about making sure that you get your part done. All right, so we want to fight against active non-action. You guys know what active non-action is? Active non-action is the equivalent of riding a rocking horse. Anyone ever rode a rocking horse? Or a rocking chair? Or a treadmill? Well, maybe they're like, no, I've never been on a treadmill a day in my life. That's understandable, right? But that's active non-action. Doing a lot and getting nothing done. Who here has felt like, today is what, Thursday? Who has felt like this week they've been involved in a lot of active non-action? The less of those opportunities or the less of those chances that you have, the more productive you will become. So one of the things we talked about what this means here, this also means weakness. It means fear. Do we know anyone who stays busy all the time? Probably because they're afraid to just be with themselves. You guys know the fear of the silence, fear of silence, right? So I have to be doing something because I don't know what to do. If you've ever said, if I'm not doing this, I don't know what to do with myself. It's absolutely imperative that this is one of the things that you avoid. Because in order to conquer others, you must first conquer yourself. And to know oneself is one of the greatest pieces of knowledge that you can have. All right. And so how can we avoid this? I have my calendar with me everywhere I go. I have a paper calendar or a day planner. I keep it on my phone. But the way we avoid this and we decide to let it go is vet your calendar first before it goes on to the calendar. Who keeps a calendar or a schedule or anything like that? I don't care if it's electronic or if it's in paper form. Who has the bad habit of when someone says something to you, you say, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And then you put it on your calendar. Nope, raise your hand high. She did it. And then she put her hand. See, that's exactly, she like, got me. All right. So what you want to do, you want to vet your calendar first. Jim Rohn has a saying, when in doubt, say no. Don't let your mouth overload your back. When in doubt, say no. Don't let your mouth overload your back. So Neil, how do we know what we should let go of? If it's not moving you closer towards your goal, it should be no. So Darren Hardy, he was one of the publishers of the Success magazine, one of my mentors. And the way that he decides what goes on the calendar, if it's not hell yes, then it's hell no. If one of your friends, colleagues, someone, if they ask you, hey, can you do this? Can we meet? If it's not hell yes, it's hell no. All right? That is one of the best pieces of advice I can give you to vet your calendar first. How many times have we said yes to something that we should have said no to? It happens all of the time. Who's at fault for that? We are. Because it's my job to get you to do what I want when I want it. Grant Cardone. Any Grant Cardone fans in here? Sell or be sold. We're always selling or we're always buying. Right? So if it's not hell yes, it's what? So some of you guys feel good. You guys are like, yeah, I got to say hell no today. Right? If it's not hell yes, then it is hell no. This also means that we're out of control. We want our kids. We want our friends. We want everyone else. We tell them, control yourselves. Control yourselves. But what do? We're out of control because we're weak and we're busy. Tough to hear. Say, ouch. Ouch. Who here before right now would consider themselves a person that was in control? I usually consider myself a person that's in control until I look at my calendar and I look at my life and I see that I'm doing everything else and I'm out of control, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. So we want to let it go. We want to say no. So how do you get to your production level, productivity level? And I do want to remind you guys, we are not talking about real estate production because real estate is just a microcosm of your life. Would you guys agree? Because real estate is what we do. It is not who we. Do you guys believe that? Yes. If you don't believe that, come see me afterwards. I'll give you a hug and I'll tell you that you're important. Or you guys can go to Joe. I don't see why you would choose Joe over me. Personally, that's just my opinion. So how do we get to a position where we can say no to more things? Who here has told you that you need to be more committed? Everyone been told they need to be more committed to whatever it is. You need more commitment. False. We need less commitment. And this goes back to what Jim Rohn said. Don't let your mouth overload your back. We need to be committed to the right things, but take less commitments. So we want to have fewer things on our calendars. We just want to have more of the right things. All right. So when you look at your calendar, the first things that should go on there should be your prospecting time. It should be the time that you're pitching listings or buyers if you're a buyer specialist, and then contract negotiation. Those are your 3 vital functions in the real estate side of it. Now, I'm going to challenge you guys, if you have a significant other, that's vital. How cool would it be for you to show your spouse, your partner, your significant other, hey, you're in my calendar. You're important enough for me to put you in writing, right? So there are things, so random acts of love is something that I do in my house, whether it's with my son, my wife, or my friends. I will put on my calendar because what gets scheduled gets done. So now we just need to get the right thing scheduled. My favorite word in the entire language, in the entire English language, is no. It is no. Commitments. So this is something that Peter Drucker, he is a productivity. Anyone here familiar with Peter Drucker? So he's written all types of books, outstanding author. He says there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Who here is really good at doing dumb stuff? Right? Or wasteful stuff. There's no worse waste of time. There's no greater robbery than you being great at something that you should not be doing at all. When it comes to marketing, this is a great example. Stuffing your envelopes. No. Should not be done. Writing handwritten note cards, yes. But stuffing your marketing material, putting all of the, you're the one that wants to make the logo, make the design, all of that, you should not be doing it. Why? Because is that one of our 3 vital functions in the real estate aspect of it? No, it's not. There are things that we're doing. Browsing social media should not happen. If you want to have or run a social media campaign, you should have someone who is not licensed doing that for you because it's not a dollar productive activity for you. In the 3 vital functions, prospecting. So you're going to say, Neil, but social media is part of my prospecting. I have to do it. No, the prospecting has to get done. You don't have to do it. Everyone okay with that? Don't mistake. So these are a couple of concepts I want you guys to, any questions so far? Is everyone good? All right, because we're going to get into an action plan here in one quick moment. So movement is not progress. Movement is not progress. Activity is not productivity. And rushing is not results. Have you guys ever been so busy one day, you come home at the end of the day and you're wiped out, and then someone says, "What did you get done today?" And what's your answer? I don't know. If you say that today, it's your fault, right? So it is movement is not progress, activity is not productivity, and rushing is not results. Our job, your job as a high producer, as a top producer, as someone who's productive in life, is to go against everything that not everything, but go against the majority of what we've been taught. Because if you look at society and media, we are taught to be sheep, okay? We're taught to be sheep. And sheep are led to where? The slaughter. They're not going out to the fields and, just grazing. But what your job is to be a shepherd. Okay, be the leader. So the number one killer of your productivity, is something that you guys are probably really, really good at: multitasking. It's a lie. Why? Because you're never multitasking. You're never doing more than one thing when it comes to a cognitive brain function. So a cognitive brain function is something that you have to do. It's not like chewing gum and walking. Why? Because walking is not a cognitive action. Think about it. When you guys first learn to drive your cars, right? You're learning, have your learner's permit or no permit, whichever you choose. When you're driving and you get lost. And so you could drive, you get lost, you have the music up or whatever. What's the first thing that you do? You turn the radio off. Why? Because when you're learning how to drive, right? You have to concentrate. Where our attention goes, that's where our life follows, right? So when you're learning how to drive, that's why you don't have the windows open, the music on. You're focused 10 and 2. Now they moved it to 9 and 3. You're concentrating, checking the mirror, doing all this. But after a while, after you've driven for a number of years, driving is no longer a cognitive function because you're not thinking about which lever is the windshield wiper or turn signal, right? We're not thinking about that anymore. I learned to drive a truck at 9 years old. It was a column shift. Anyone here familiar with the column shift? It was an old Dodge column shift truck. So that's what I learned to drive on when I was 9 years old. So that's something that I want you to think about. However, even though driving is now no longer a cognitive action, what happens when you get lost or when Siri or your GPS tells you to go a different direction? You tell everyone in the car, be quiet, because now you have to concentrate, right? So our greatest distraction is multitasking. You're never doing more than one thing at a time when it comes to cognitive brain functions. You're only switching back and forth. So if you are, who listens to webinars? Do you guys do any Greater Tampa Realtors like webinar trainings and all that? Who listens to webinars and checks their emails and texts? Don't raise your hands on that one, okay? Because I don't want Dennis looking like Dennis is sitting here with the side eye looking like, yeah, raise your hand, all right? But what happens when you're checking your email? You're not checking your email and listening to the webinar. When you're looking at your text, you're not doing both. You're switching back and forth. So that's why when they say, okay, well, we're going to take a vote now. You're like, oh, crap, what did they say? That just goes to show that you weren't paying attention. So you're never multitasking. Who here is notorious for having more than one task open on? More than one tab open on their window, on their computer, right? So that is one of the absolute worst things that you can do, because every time you switch, it takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds for you to regain your concentration. It takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds for you to regain your concentration. What's the problem with this? Is that we are distracted every 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes, there's a draw on your attention every 3 minutes. Once you get rid of that distraction, it takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds for you to regain your focus. But guess what happens 3 minutes into that? You're distracted again. And then you're distracted again. So do you guys see why it's possible for us to go all day and never get anything done? We're going to jump into action plans of how we can actually combat all of this. Because all of this other information, we have it on here. You guys can pick that up, learn it in various different avenues. I'll give you guys some resources to do that. But there are going to be the first thing that I want you guys, who here has ever quit? Who's ever quit? Who here is proud of the fact that they're a quitter? You guys know why? Because I've quit doing all of the crap that other people demand of me so that I could do what's vital to my success. So after today, when someone says, hey, what did you learn today? I've learned to be an executioner and a quitter, right? Then I'm like, dang, what are they teaching over there at Greater Tampa Realtors, right? They're going to be going to Meredith and saying, Meredith, you might need to do a little better job with, the programs that you're putting on over there. So that's one of the things that I want you guys to take. So become a quitter. Become a quitter. Quit doing this right here. Quit being efficient at the stuff that we shouldn't be doing anyway. Would you guys be willing to try that for me? Okay, I'm not going to ask you guys to do it, but if you're willing to take a chance and try that, it would be greatly appreciated. This is called the torment of choice. The torment of choice. The more choices we have, the more likely we are not to make any choice at all. Think about this with your clients. Think about this with your kids, your friends. The more choices you give them, the more likely they are not to make a choice at all. So what do we want to do? We want to eliminate choice. Steve Jobs was great at this. Why? Because he eliminated the choice in his clothing and his apparel. He wore jeans and a black turtleneck. No choice. Who's doing that right now? Who does that now? Mark Zuckerberg. T-shirt and jeans. I don't know if that's what he wore when he had to go in front of, right? So all of a sudden it's time to make choices, right? But we want to eliminate the torment of choice. Have you guys think about it in your own life? Have there been times when you had to make a decision and you're like, okay, I don't know which decision to make, right? What I'm going to tell you to do is make a decision immediately, right? I want you guys to turn thoughts into actions faster, to turn thoughts into actions faster. So eliminate the torment of choice. And that's how we're going to use the avoid versus resist. So for me, I love chocolate, the M&Ms. I love the peanut M&Ms. So you guys know they have the Christmas edition where they have just red or green, and you have to choose which one I'm going to eat, all red or all green, or all of them. So my wife, she loves to have, because it's festive, she likes to have the candy out, right? And I would find myself going and just have one. Or I would say, I'm not going to have one, right? I'm not going to have one. I'm not going to have them. So then I had to tell my wife, why don't you just put those away? Don't bring them into the house, because now I'm avoiding instead of resisting. Now I don't have to make a choice whether I'm going to eat one, none, because they're not there. So that's what I want you guys to do in your life. Set your system up in place to avoid instead of resist, and implement remove the torment of choice. Right here, no. And we're going to talk about building your no system. Who here has a tough time saying no to people? Who here enjoys saying no to people? Not many of us, because even for those of us who really have a tough time saying no, we usually don't raise our hands. So how can we build our no system and still be a good guy? Because people equate no with negative, right? People say no is a bad word. Every time he talks to me, he says no. However, that's one of the things that Warren Buffett said made him successful, saying no to the 100 good ideas. So when that one great idea came up, you could actually say yes. And Warren Buffett knows a little bit more than I do, just a little bit. So this is how we're going to build our no system. So I'm going to make sure that I get this over to Meredith. So a couple of things I'm going to get it over to you guys, the entire slide deck. I'm going to get it over to you as well. And I'm telling you guys that now because I didn't want you to be like, oh, well, I don't have to pay attention. He's going to send it to me. I just remember what the heck he said. All right. Building your no system. Master the skill of success. The master skill of success. So at the top, it says success is saying no to 100 other good ideas that are there. So Steve Jobs, when he was asked before he passed away, what is he most proud of doing? And his response was, I am more proud of what we don't do than what we do. He's more proud of things that he says no to than what he says yes to. The dude did a hell of a job saying no to a lot of stuff, but his yeses were what? His yeses were phenomenal, right? And we want to emulate, we want to study that and then copy it. So these are a couple of things that I want you to look at. In the top left quadrant, it says the loudest solicitation on my time. What are those? You're going to write those. A lot of times, have you heard the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? We're going to stop doing that, right? What are the easiest tasks? Over here, what are the easiest tasks and functions to do? A lot of time we either do what's the loudest draw on our attention or what's the easiest for us to get done. The trivial, the urgent, the important, but non-vital, right? Over here, what are the vital tasks and functions I do? I want you guys living in quadrant 3. If it's not in quadrant 3, the most vital tasks and functions I do, it should not be done. And don't justify. We're great salespeople. We would justify, but I have to get this because if I don't do it, then someone's going to be upset. So, okay. What will I start saying no to? A lot of you should start saying no to, I didn't ask permission to say this. A lot of you should start saying no to a lot of the meetings and consultations that you're taking, right? Because we said that we believe that our time is our most valuable asset, but then we're not doing it. Now, how can I say that you should start saying no to a lot of the meetings you're taking? Because I know that the people that are going to be holding the meetings, they're going to start saying, okay, is this a vital meeting? Hold our leaders to a higher standard and hold yourself to a higher standard, right? So the system that I use, if it's a meeting, could it be a conference call? If it's a conference call, could it be an email? If it's an email, could it be a phone call? And if it couldn't be any of those, then it goes back up to a meeting. You guys understand? Because then when you have that, when someone values your time and when you value your own time and when you let the people know in your life, hey, what I do is so valuable. I know what my dollar per hour value is. I know what my dollar per hour value is. And if you're willing to burn that and throw that away, if you know what your dollar per hour value is, let's say, just easy. If you're a $100 an hour person, every hour that you waste, and it's not an investment, every hour that you waste on social media, I want you to take out $100 and set it on fire. Seriously. Because we say that time is our most valuable asset. We say we believe that, right? Time does not equal money. What you do with your time equals a certain amount of money. Okay? Everyone okay? All right, so this is our no system. What are we going to start saying no to? No may be social media. So I don't have a TV in my house. I do not have a TV in my house and I have a 10-year-old son. All right, we don't watch TV. I've set avoid up so that we don't have to resist. I haven't watched TV in the past 4 years when I said that my business took off. I don't watch TV. So what do? I do have an iPad. Now, if I want to watch something, I'll look at it on my iPad, but it's kind of hard to binge watch an entire season of anything on an iPad, right? So I've set systems up. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you that my success, I'm 36 years old. I told myself, I made a commitment to my son, my wife, my family and friends, and to the mom that I speak to on Wednesdays and Sundays. When I'm 40 years old, I am no longer actively engaged in business. For you to make a commitment like that and tell someone else, you have to set systems up in place where you can kick butt for 4 years so that when time comes, my son's gonna say, Daddy, tomorrow's your birthday. You're gonna be 40. The day after tomorrow, where are we going? Because I told him, Daddy's not actively working, engaged in day-to-day activities once he's 40. How do we get there? We stop doing and we say no to more things. So how will you say no? Decide how you're going to say no in person. One of the best ways you're going to say no, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Or I'll check my calendar. If time allows, I'll let you know. But right now, it doesn't appear that way. Start with no, and then if something opens up, then you allow to say yes. We're okay with that. How are you going to say no over email? Email is the easiest way. Use a ghost account where it's not you, but have your assistant respond. Neil is engaged in accomplishing his top 3 goals for the year. This does not meet one of his top 3 priorities for the year. Right now, we have to say no. And that's going to say right here, who can you designate to say no professionally? So professionally, my agent, Stacy, she is my no queen. She is the one, you know what, speak to Stacy. She'll give you all the information. Stacy has been trained. She is a black belt, a 3rd-degree black belt in Shiryu karate. So she says no. She's my no ninja. Just no, 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 no. Who is my no in my personal life? My son and my wife. My wife has no problem telling everyone no. You can't have him for this time. Why? Because if you say no, if you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And so the way I condition my wife, don't tell her that she's conditioned, but the way that I condition my wife is that I said, every time I say yes to them, I'm saying no to you. Ouch. So if I say yes to this, that means that we can't have our date night. That means that when you want to go here, so I told her, so I said, hey, love, I have to go speak at Greater Tampa Realtors. She said, no. I said, it's too late. So I'm going to say, so I said no to her today, guys. So hopefully you guys are getting something from this. And then the Sunday planning. So this is what I set up for my business. So every Sunday from 6:30 to 7:30 at night. Since I'm not watching TV, I go in and I do my Sunday planning. So it starts with my big goal number 1, goal number 2, number 3, and then the miscellaneous. That's what we call the devil's vortex. The big goal number 1. Usually your big goal number 1 should be the most vital goal in your life, and not all the time, but more likely than not. When big goal number 1 is reached, it's going to build momentum for you to get goals 2 and 3. My big goal number 1 was not a financial goal. My big goal number 1 was a family goal for me. Spend X amount of time with my son, my wife, and volunteer with the kids that I do, whether at church or in school. That was my big goal number 1. And it said the number of hours that I want to spend each week. So with that in place, my big goal number 2 is a financial goal. So in order for me to reach, if I reach big goal number 1, if I block out my calendar and I vet my calendar first, not only am I putting time in for those things for my goal number 1, it also allows me to put things in for goal number 2. So now I know if I want to spend 40 hours a week volunteering or spending time with my family, that means I have to get really good at being, prospecting. I have to be really good at saying no to the meetings that I'm going to take and all of that. Would you guys understand where I'm coming from there? The next thing is goal number 3. Goal number 3 was a physical goal for me. So with goal number 1 and goal number 2 in place, I said, all right, now I have to figure out how I want my physical goal to line up and what am I going to do. So that's what you're going to do on Sunday evening. The reason I say Sunday is most of us, that's when we take time to ourselves, relax, and it's a great way to have an awesome week. The most important week, we've heard that the most important day of the week is Monday. I'm going to disagree with that. The most important day of the week is whatever day you do your planning. I'm going to say Sunday, 6:30 and 7:30. Coach John Wooden said the game is won or lost before you step on the court. So your week is determined before Monday starts. Whether you're going to be successful or not is going to be determined during your planning time. Now, and I don't want us to get stuck on the, Sunday, Monday, whatever, but whatever your week looks like, your week is going to be determined. Whether you win or lose your week is going to be determined in the planning process. And if you're not planning and if you're not setting up systems, then you're going to fail. And this devil's vortex and my devil's vortex, these are things that you should not, absolutely not be doing. For me, mine is television, social media browsing, and pointless meetings. As realtors, And we love our affiliates. We love our lenders. But how much coffee can we drink? Hey, let's meet for coffee. Let's meet for coffee. Let's meet for coffee. If you guys are saying yes to meeting for coffee, is that cup of coffee, whatever you're getting, is it worth that money or the time that you're investing? If it is, or if it is not, take that $100 out, whatever your dollar hour value is, and set it on fire. Or give it to the person that's meeting you for coffee. Say, here, I'm going to have the coffee. Here's just $100. They're going to say, you want to meet tomorrow? Right? So that's what you want to focus on your time. And right here at the bottom, it says my 3 MVPs or most valuable priorities of the week. What are your most valuable priorities of the week? Once again, you guys will be getting this sheet so you don't have to write it down or remember. But most valuable priorities of the week, sometimes all of them will come from your big goal number 1, big goal number 2, or big goal number 3. So sometimes 2 may come from 1, and then 1 may come from 3, and you might not do anything for this week to accomplish the second goal. That's just life. Their life is not perfect. I mean, well, mine is not. You guys, it may be. So for your big MVP goals, the 3 MVPs, with the big goal number 1, these are annual goals. So you want to write your annual goals on the top, and then underneath are going to be your action steps. And what you'll see is if your annual goal, or if the goal that you put for big goal number 1, 2, or 3, if it changes from week to week, guess what? It's not really your goal. A lot of us don't know where we want to be, and we're quickly getting there, right? If you don't know where you want to go, you're guaranteed to get there 100% of the time. Any questions, comments, or concerns about this right here? The last part on this is a 3D system. A 3D system. The 3D stand for delegate. No, I'm sorry. The first one is delete. You need to delete a lot of the stuff that we're already doing. Delete it. Well, delete, I always have to decide whether I'm going to say this next part or not, but I believe you guys are mature enough, emotionally mature enough for me to say this. Delete also means relationships. There are a lot of relationships that you need to delete. Delegate is the second. You have to delete, you have to delegate. As I said, there are some things that should be done, but should not be done by you. Delete, delegate, and then the third one is double down. Double down. The things that you want to double down on are your vital priorities. Those 3 vital functions. In real estate, I'll speak in real estate. Prospecting, double down on your prospecting. So there's one what's called an economic denominator in all of our real estate businesses. There's one economic denominator in your business. It's the number of contacts that you make. The number of contacts. Everything else, and I am bold enough to say this because a lot smarter people than me, if you ask every successful real estate agent, what is the one economic denominator that controls everything else, it's the number of contacts that you make. And by contacts, I mean it means meaningful conversation. It doesn't always have to be about real estate. It could just be asking about their kids, their day. But when you make someone better or pour into their life, that's a contact. Or when you have meaningful conversation, that is the one economic denominator for your business. If you want to make more money, have more closings, make more contacts. If you want to set more appointments, make more contacts. Because the more contacts, then of course, as we all know, there are things such as conversion rates that, depend. But if you make more contacts, that is the one economic denominator. So that's what you want to double down on. You want to double down on listing or buyer appointments, and then you want to double down on negotiating. But the one economic denominator is going to be making those contacts. Everyone okay with that? Eliminate the torment of choice we already talked about. Now turn your wishes and dreams into rules. Turn your wishes and dreams into rules. That's what I want you to do. So my wish and my dream was to be done working by 40. So what's my rule? No television, no social media. So I know you guys see me on a lot of social media. The majority of the time it's not me, it's Alex Alberin, my social media manager. Now, I just take all the photos at one time. So part of my Sunday is I'm just changing clothes, changing shirts, and then I post. Now that was actually me posting in the Greater Tampa Realtors, but that's one of the things that in this event, so that was actually me. Ashley's like, Neil, was that really? Yes, that was me, that was not Alex. And then you can resist when you must. You can resist when you must. I know there are times in each of our lives when we just had to resist the M&Ms because it was so important for me to get into a wedding dress for a bridesmaid dress for my sister's wedding, right? Whatever it is. No, not me getting into a wedding, no. But you guys understand what I'm saying. We can resist when we must. The trick is to always must. When it is so important, when your goals are so important that you must make it, or you know how they say failure is not an option? Failure is an option. But you have to make it so that you must. So a couple of resources that I want you guys to just use to embrace to help you on your productivity is Darren Daily. Go to darrendaily.com. Darren Hardy. I believe that he is the guru when it comes to productivity mastery. He is one of my mentors. darrenhardy.com. He has a lot of resources, and I don't get paid for any of this. It's just that I want to impart on you guys what has helped me over the past, I would say, 5 years, and really the last 4 to take me to the level I am. And then the book, The Compound Effect. The compound effect. So it talks about the idea of, we all love the idea of compound interest, right? We know, that's when our money makes money, the earlier you get started. But the greatest investment or the greatest asset that you have is yourself. So why not turn your life and yourself into an asset and an investment where it compounds? All right, so The Compound Effect is one of the best books, I believe, on productivity mastery and insane productivity. And just become a student of that. Here are ways that you can connect with me on social media if you like. Facebook.com. So I have Neil Oates Speak Train. That's my personal Facebook page right here. Now, side note, you guys do know there is no difference between personal and professional on social media, right? So I don't care what the privacy settings are. If we haven't learned that, I don't care what the privacy settings are. Don't put something personally or professionally that you don't want your mom, grandmom, or dentist to see. This is my Instagram page right there and the YouTube channel. So I am going to get everything over to Meredith by Friday, and she'll make sure that she has all of that information out to you guys. It was an absolute treat today. I honestly can't say that words can't express how grateful I am. I will tell my wife now, and I'm going to tell her, because I'm not going to give you guys a choice. I'm going to tell my wife that this was the greatest session that you guys have ever had at Greater Tampa Realtors, because then she won't feel so bad about me saying yes on her behalf. Before I leave, are there any questions, comments, concerns, things that you guys want me to expound on or just address before I sit down? Yes, ma'am.
I met you 3 years ago at the Orlando Global Conference.
Yes.
We exchanged business cards. I didn't have one at the time. I got a handwritten letter from you saying you were happy to have met me. Guess who's getting a handwritten letter in the next 2 days?
Good stuff. You see? It works. And yes, so handwritten notes are one of my vital functions. So that's one thing. I know all of my classmates, you get handwritten notes, just get stuff from me. But why? Because making contact is one of my vital functions that I can't outsource and I can't delegate. So those are things that I double down on. All right? Anyone else? Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
You use the abbreviation ICA before. What is that?
Independent Contractors Agreement. So that's for the broke. So you guys have all signed them, I hope, or probably, or maybe, no. ICA, Independent Contractors Agreement. And I apologize for not explaining that clear. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Neil, I'd be very curious to know what your goals are if you're going to quit working at the age of 40. What you're going to do with the rest of your lifetime?
So what I am going to do with the rest of my lifetime, I'm going to make a full-time effort of doing everything that I volunteer in right now. So when I am volunteer, so for those of you who know me, I am one of the youth, not pastor, because oh my gosh, that's scary. But I'm one of the high-level volunteers at my church. I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership. I believe that as a young man and as a man, the fate of our society depends on what I do and the legacy that I live and the leadership that comes up after me. So that's going to be one. Showing my son how to be a man. I believe that's going to be a full-time job. Showing him how to treat women and then helping him achieve goals and dreams. So when I say actively working, I mean actively working in real estate. I still believe there are a lot of people, a lot of places, as you guys evidenced here. I am not famous yet. So I think there's a lot of my message that I want to share with people. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So everything that I love playing with right now, I'm just going to play on a bigger scale, because being here with you guys today, this doesn't work for me. But the real estate, that part, we all know that no matter how much you love it, it can be taxing. But things like this, so that's what I'm going to do. And I thought that I was going to get an RV and drive around, but then my wife, she says it's just easy just to fly and get in and out of rent cars. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you guys so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.